everyone, my name is Branda and welcome to day 2 of my unofficial Hunger Games week where I will be reviewing the Hunger Games movie which came out in March 2012, which seems so long ago. I literally I can't believe we're at the last movie already. It's insane. But if you'll notice, Hunger Games is the one DVD I don't actually have because I wasn't that in love with the movie. Don't get me wrong, it was still way better than half of the book-to-movie adaptations we have nowadays. But there was just something about it that I personally didn't like. I know a lot of critics and fans liked it, but for me it just wasn't what I pictured the world to be. It was a lot more grittier. I didn't really like that aspect. I feel like the next 2 movies have done a better job of making it kind of glossier and more sci-fi than this dirty kind of gritty thing like I said. But what really solidified this movie for me was that it introduced us to Jennifer Lawrence, because we honestly could not ask for a better Katniss than Jennifer Lawrence. And it's funny because I remember when she was first cast, she was blonde and she was 20 and everyone was like, what the heck, this looks nothing like Katniss. Everyone was so outraged, this looks nothing like Katniss. How could you cast a 20-year-old to play a 16-year-old? What is happening? And now everyone, including myself, loves Jennifer Lawrence, and I honestly could not picture a better Katniss for this franchise, because I feel like so much of these movies depend on Katniss, and if you had an actress who couldn't carry that, then your whole series, no matter how great the script was, no matter how great all the supporting actors were, it wouldn't matter because no one would care. You need to feel these things that you get in the book from reading Katniss's thoughts that you don't get to read her thoughts in a movie. That's the whole trouble with a movie, is it's harder to connect with characters because you don't get to hear what they're thinking like you would in a book. So instead you have to hear what they're saying out loud, and you have to read their faces for their expressions and their body language. Body language is everything. You had an actress who, let's say, was fabulous at reading a script. She looked exactly like Katniss and she was perfect when she read the script, but in those quieter moments, she couldn't get the facial expressions, so we couldn't understand what Katniss's motivations were, what her thoughts were in a certain situation. It would have been extremely hard to make anyone care about this character and the series as a whole. And I feel like we are so lucky that we have Jennifer Lawrence. I feel like Jennifer Lawrence is like casting lightning in a bottle. I feel like it is so extremely hard to get someone who is so perfect for a role. I could honestly go on about her for hours and hours, but we have other people to talk about in this movie, and mainly that is Josh Hutcherson as Peeta and Liam Hemsworth as Gale. Now, I was someone who was a little hesitant when they cast these guys because I knew both of them. They weren't really nobodies to me. I knew Liam Hemsworth from The Last Song and Dating Miley Cyrus, and I knew Josh Hutcherson from oh my gosh, I grew up with Josh Hutcherson movies, no lie. I remember Kicking and Screaming, Zathura, Bridge to Terabithia. He was not this new actor to me. So I was a little hesitant because I was like, well, Jennifer Lawrence, I don't know, but I know she was nominated for an Oscar, so she's clearly got this, But Josh Hutcherson and Liam Hemsworth, they've been in a couple movie bombs. I'm not sure if they can handle this that well. I have to say, you didn't really see it in the first movie because they didn't really get that big of parts in it, especially poor Liam Hemsworth as Gale. That man must have been showed up 3 days on set, and they were like, okay, you're done now, and he's 3 days? That's it? But I feel like this movie was not about them, so it's really okay with that, and I'll definitely discuss them more when I get into the next 2 movie reviews. Like I said, this movie is all 100% about Katniss and about her trying to survive, and I appreciated it, even though I didn't love it. I would probably have to give it 3.5 out of 5 stars, just because it wasn't my taste in style, which I can totally understand how someone would love it. It just wasn't what I liked, how it was very choppy in the arena when they were running, and it's the camera would be running with you, and sometimes that can be really cool. But for me, it just kind of took away from it somehow. You think it would add and be oh my gosh, I'm really in this situation. But for me, it just it took part of it away from me. I didn't feel as connected or as scared as I was supposed to be or anything like that. And the main qualm I had with it, and you can't really blame the movie because this is how the book is set up as well, is that I feel all the action scenes took place in the last 30 minutes. All this story building and kind of introduction and stuff was like an hour and a half of the movie, and you're just like, okay, we get it, life sucks, let's move on. And then finally in the last 30 minutes, it's like you get all this action. It's finally where like you feel like this thing that everyone's been talking about, how awful it is finally happening, and you can appreciate and understand where it's coming from. And that's when you really got to see Katniss, how much her survival instincts are and how great she can be when put to the limit. And I just feel like for me the problem with the movie was there was never that moment. You know, that moment in a movie that sticks with you, that you walk out of the theater and you're replaying it in your head and you think about it for days and days, and it just moves you, it connects with you. That moment in a movie where you're like, I get it. And I saw it in the other two movies, but this one, there was just no moment for me where I was like, this is gonna stay with me, this has emotional meaning to me. Instead, it just felt like another action movie, which was very kind of sad, I mean, because I was expecting it to be so great. But at the same time, you have to understand that it's the first movie, so it's kind of like a gamble the studio's taking. They have less money. They're probably a little more unsure of what they're doing, so they don't want to focus too much on any one particular person in case that person can't carry it or doesn't connect with the audience. So once you have the first movie out, you're golden, because then you can come at it from a new angle and understand what the audience didn't like and what they liked. So I can understand that it's the first movie, and that's probably why so many of the problems happen, because look how great the next two movies are. But for me, like I said, I walked out of it feeling like, like I didn't walk out of it feeling like this movie moved me, like this is amazing. It just, for me, I loved Jennifer Lawrence's performance. I loved all the performances, nothing against them. The movie just, it never lived up to the potential I had built in my mind for me. Also, the ending I really didn't like, because the ending is very different from the book. And you see that a lot in book to movie adaptations. But I really feel like it changed the meaning of where the next two movies were going, and I really didn't like that. And I've seen other people point it out, because in the book, which I happen to have right here, Katniss explains to Peeta like that their whole romance, she wasn't really in love with him, she was faking it so they could survive, and he's very upset by that. He's like, what do you mean? I thought you really loved me, stuff like that. Sets up nicely this juxtaposition between Katniss and Peeta for the next movie and the next book. But in the movie, what happened was he basically asked her, he's like, what happens now? And she says, I just want to try and forget. So it's implied that she's kind of saying, like, I don't want to talk about our feelings or anything like that, but there's never that moment where he, like, confronts her and you realize that he really bought into this and believed it, and she has to kind of tell him that it wasn't true, because I feel like that is a very important moment for the rest of the series in their relationship between Peeta and Katniss, and for it to be kind of downplayed, it didn't have the emotional impact in the next movie when they were kind of like ignoring each other. Like, you were just like, oh, why are you guys ignoring each other? Whereas in the book, you got it because she basically broke his heart. So that was probably my biggest problem with the movie, was the ending, because I felt like it just left it off on the wrong note. But other than that, I feel like I'm just grateful that it did well enough that we got the next two, because the next two were so amazing. And if you want to see what I thought about those movies, be sure to check back to my channel within the next few days, because I will be doing a book review for Catching Fire tomorrow, followed by a movie review of Catching Fire. Be sure to keep your eye out for those if you want to see more about my thoughts on this whole series. So thank you guys so much for watching. Make sure you give this video a thumbs up if you enjoy it and are excited for Hunger Games. Yeah, thumbs up for that. And also make sure to subscribe to my channel down below to be told when I make all sorts of new videos. Thank you guys again all so much for watching, and I will see you tomorrow. Bye!